A big part of this channel is the depiction, the deciphering, the debunking of argumentation, of one's argument. Another big part of this channel is analyzing the analyst, whether it be Stephen A., whether it be Chuck, whether it's Mac, or whether it's Colin Cowherd. And today it's Colin Cowherd. What up, nigga? How you doing, nigga? I heard your words the other day. You was talking about the Mamba. This argument today in Dame's world, I guess he's arguing why Mamba isn't as great as people perceive him to be, though it's all a relative standpoint. That's the beauty of argumentation. It's all relative. It's all opinionated. No one's wrong, per se. But when in argumentation, you assume certain premises. And once you take those assumptions, you can validate one or the other's argument. AKA, you get to choose who you favor in the argument. I'm about to debunk the shit out of his argument right now. Basically, I feel like he's saying because he was the second coming of Jordan, he can't be better than the first coming of someone who was the first coming, the originator. Let's listen as I depict the words.
House, you got to go to Washington, D.C. So you go to New York for the energy and then the size, and then you go to Washington, D.C. for the power and the monuments. And then he'd say, okay, I got one city left. And I'd say, go to Boston. And he'd say, like, well, what about Philadelphia? And I'd say, yeah, just go to Boston. That's like Philadelphia with better soup and more Super Bowls. It's just a better version.
Okay, so we'll take that right now. I guess he's saying Boston is Michael Jordan while Philly is Kobe Bryant. Essentially, Boston is a great city, but it's just, Philly is a great city, but it's just not as good as Boston. Therefore, the perception on Philly gets dwindled. I guess that's what he's trying to compare, so let's listen.
That's why Kobe scored 60 points. And by the time he got home, probably helicoptered, we didn't talk about him anymore.
Because he's the second coming of Jordan, we didn't talk about his 60-point game, or because we chose to not talk about it. And when I say we, I mean the media heads, the people who control what is put on the TV for the consumer to watch. It's not because of his legacy or because he monikered his game after MJ, the reason why nobody talked about it. Nobody talked about it because y'all didn't want to fucking talk about it. Y'all rather talk about LeVar or some shit. Colin.
He's always been a J Light. I know in LA that doesn't stand very well. You get very angry when I say that. I'm not saying he's not great. But there's a reason nobody ever really embraced Christian Slater. He was too much like Jack Nicholson. I like Lady Gaga.
Okay, and then when you talk about argumentations, he's doing a lot of analogies that it is up to the viewer to deem them relatable. I don't think Christian Slater is a Kobe to Jack Nicholson and Jordan. I think it's more comparable to compare Kobe and Jordan than Christian Slater, but that's a part of his argument, whether or not you agree or not.
I saw it before called Madonna. I like Philadelphia. Boston's a better version. Magic Johnson retired 20 years ago. He is still talked about constantly. A total original. Kobe scored 60 left. By the time he got home that night, we were done talking about him.
Why does that make your case? The fact that you guys didn't talk about him after he scored 60, what case does that make for him being an elite or better than an originator? I think he's trying to reach here by saying an originator leaves more of an impression, which I'm not even going to deny. But when we're talking about what the topic is, top 10 greatest players of all time, you have to respect the fact that the second coming of MJ can be very well better than the first coming of a lot of players. And I'll let you talk and then I'll go in more on that.
So last night, you look at the greats in the history of basketball. I've been watching the NBA for 40 years. The skyhook, nothing like it. Wilt Chamberlain led the league in points, rebounds, one-year assists, nothing like it. And nothing like Magic Johnson. There's never been anything like LeBron James.
So I feel like what he's saying is he gets more enamored by something in which he hasn't seen, which makes the player who he hasn't seen more favorable and I guess more effective, or I guess even greater. I'm here to debunk that because, and the main point I like to point at is essentially any originator can be better than the second coming of Jordan. So we'll take that premise that he says Kobe's the second Jordan. That means the first Wilt, the first Shaq, the first Kristaps Porzingis, because this is the first time we've ever seen a Kristaps. First time we ever seen a Kevin Durant, a LeBron James, a Steph Curry. Any originator, you're almost saying Kobe's lesser than because he's the second coming. I'm here to argue that the second coming of MJ is better than the first Steph Curry. The second coming of MJ is better than the first Bron. The second coming of MJ is better than Magic. Even though I love Magic, you feel me? But I'm just saying, if you've almost levered yourself to where MJ is at and came close, and he is considerably the best player to ever live in everybody's mind, then the second coming of MJ is pretty goddamn good and probably better than the first coming of a lot of first comings, motherfucker.
There had never been something as relentless as Michael Jordan. Larry Bird was the first 6'10" guy walked into the league. He was the best shooter and maybe the second best passer to Magic. The originals last and are talked about because we've never seen anything like them. Kobe was remarkable, but I've seen it. A better version, it was called Michael Jordan. That's why Shaq was so unique. Centers looked like Jabbar or Russell. They were tall and thin. And here came 300.
Okay, this will contradict your statement. Are being talked about currently in the minds of many? Are they talking about Shaq or are they talking about Kobe? Now, Shaq is the first coming of Shaq, right? I guarantee you the legacy of Kobe Bryant will live longer being the second coming of Jordan than Shaq's legacy. Or a Dirk Nowitzki. You've never seen a 7'2" guy shoot like Dirk. Yet, Kobe's legacy is going to sustain longer than even a Dirk Nowitzki's. So my whole argument is the second coming of MJ ain't finna get snubbed by the first coming of everybody. Come on now, just because Kareem made the sky hook and you remember him for that uniqueness doesn't mean Kobe isn't as great or even greater.
30-pound Shaq. That's why Magic was so unique. Point guards looked like, like Gail Goodrich back in the old Isaiah Thomas, John Stockton. This guy's 6'9", looks like a power forward. Legends always have a distinction. That's why Steph Curry's going to last a long time. Steph Curry changed the game. And nobody looked like Steph Curry. Small little guy, best ball handler in the league, with range just inside the parking lot. That's why LeBron's so amazing.
Is that going to make does that mean Steph Curry is better? Because I'm trying to figure out what his essential point is. Are you making the case that the originator is just better? Or are you just saying we're going to remember the originator more?
Like 12% Pippen, 9% Magic, 13% Wilt, 69% like Alien. When I look at Kobe Bryant, I always think like Bob De Niro, the actor. There's like a handful of actors who are really originals. Morgan Freeman is an original. Philip Seymour Hoffman was an original. Bob De Niro was an original.
Mind you, when he says original, a lot of these players got from players prior to them. If you ask MJ, he's going to say he got some of his shit from Dr. J. If you ask Dr. J, he'll say he got his shit from somebody prior to him. We all pass down attributes, and even many of these players tried to emulate Jordan, just couldn't, didn't have the play style. The fact that Kobe emulated, quote unquote, the greatest should attribute to his reputation and his validity as being amongst the greats within the originators, not without it. He's not the greatest non-original. He's one of the greatest, period, originator or not. And I can attest that a lot of the shit he did, Jordan didn't do, like shoot from 30 feet.
There's a bunch of really good actors that sort of remind me of Bob De Niro, like Tom Sizemore and Michael Madsen and Chaz Palminteri, but they're not De Niro. De Niro's the one I'll remember. Be original or be forgotten. There was nothing like Magic and nothing like Bird and nothing like Wilt and nothing like Shaq and there's nothing like LeBron James. You know, you go to a steakhouse, you don't come home talking about their second best steak. Even Steve Kerr yesterday, while complimenting Kobe.
If it's a steak just as good as filet mignon or barely as, or barely less edible, I would say, or barely less flavorful. And then you have the ribeye, the first ribeye of its time, which isn't as good as the filet mignon nor the secondary filet mignon. I'm not gonna put the ribeye as just better because it's original. That's where I want to say, where's his assertions? Why are you making this assertion? Is it just to slander the name of the Mamba, man? A lot of people think he's great, top 10, top 5. You can't change that. I feel like the media been trying to take shots and poke at Kobe Bean for the longest, since about 2004, since the rape case. And it's, you know, it's kind of getting a little frustrating to see it every day, even when he's retired.
One of the all-time creative offensive players of my life, even he falls into the comparisons to you-know-who.
Kobe is the closest thing to Michael. You know, everybody's been compared to Michael. LeBron has been compared to Michael. I don't think LeBron is Michael at all. Kobe has the same mindset and mentality that MJ had.
Bam. So when you talk about the mindset and the mentality, you talk about the second coming of MJ in all those aspects as well. The first coming of LeBron don't got that mindset. The first coming of Wilt may have not had that mindset. The first coming of Steph don't got that mindset. So this whole originator being more the impressor, I just find it kind of felonious, man. I see where you're coming from. I kind of, you know what I'm saying? In some ways, I could concur. You never see a beast. You only see one of one when you see a Shaq or a LeBron. I get it, but two Jordans are better than one LeBron, Shaq, Magic, Bird, any of that shit to me.
The assassin, I'm gonna rip your throat out with my scoring, you know, low post, dominant fadeaway, jumper, footwork.
Seriously, when he broke into the league, I remember it. He sounded like Michael Jordan. He had mimicked his voice. I'm not taking anything away from what he was. A remarkable all-time talent.
No, you are taking away from what he was. You're saying that the person who is not the originator is essentially gets knocked on the list. You are taking away from his shit, man.
But it is amazing that when people stop playing, how long do we talk about him? Like Peyton Manning will be discussed forever. Brady will be discussed forever. Montana was discussed a long, long time. But Kobe scored 60, helicoptered home that night, and I swear to God, we didn't talk about him much till last night. Michael Jordan retired. We talked about Michael Jordan. He was still the NBA's most popular player.